Miami beat A&M 48-33. If I told you Miami was hanging 48, you would have said, wow, they must have run the ball for half a mile. They did not. They did not. In fact, they had a very, very subpar day on the ground running the ball, 77 yards. Miami had 115 yards in penalties as well. Didn't matter. They still hang nearly half 100. Absolutely insane how different Miami looks this year. When we did that show down there, when we went and sat down with Mario, he let us in there to watch some stuff in the summer and talk to some people in the summer. Some of it I could tell you about, some of it I couldn't. But I was impressed, okay? But here's the thing about it. That's summer work in shorts and T-shirts. Every college athlete looks good doing that stuff. When you've got 2 new coordinators coming in, and you've got so many moving parts, and you got so many young guys, for instance, that you're going to have to rely on. They totally retooled their offensive line. It's just natural to think to yourself, okay, in time, they'll be better. But, I mean, how much better could they be right out of the gate? It's like night and day difference right out of the gate. I watched their whole game against Miami of Ohio, and I was ultra impressed, but it was Miami of Ohio, so I didn't really come and beat the drum on the show. People think I'm a Canes homer anyway, because all of us who grew up in Harris County, Georgia, just bleed orange and green. We love Miami and Harris County, Georgia. Don't know what it is. Probably the beaches. We have the beach at Callaway Gardens, man-made, and they got the real thing down there, so there's that natural connection. Night and day different team. Could not be more impressed. And so yesterday, their fastball's not there. They cannot run the ball on A&M. And so what happens is Tyler Van Dyke just goes off. So listen to this. Here's how good Miami was offensively. They had 10 penalties for 115 yards. That's terrible, okay? That's not good. That's terrible. They had a blocked punt that ended up being a touchdown. They had a muffed punt that ended up being a touchdown. These are things going against them. And this is a team that lost to Duke last year. They lost to Middle Tennessee State. So these sorts of things sound like recurrences of last year, and you would think against a quality team like A&M, that means blowout. No, they did the blowing out because Tyler Van Dyke goes 21 of 30, 374, 5 touchdowns a week after he trademarks the name Tyler Van Dyne, mind you. Great business school down there at Miami. And that offensive line looks the way it does, and that dude, James Williams and Cam Kitchens at safety is about as good as it gets in the country right now. All over the place. It seems like there are 4 or 5 of those guys back there. So what I'm trying to tell you is they upgraded. They totally overhauled their roster to the point where they're not close to playing fully disciplined football. They're not close to executing how they really want to. They're just they're more talented to the point where they can do what they did yesterday. I sat down with Shannon Dawson, their offensive coordinator, in the spring. He was adamant. Man, Tyler Van Dyke's a really good quarterback. If I put him in the right position, like if we can get these receivers to work and this offensive line gels, he can do whatever he wants to. And, man, he pretty much did yesterday. They threw the ball to win. I did not think that was going to be the story coming out of this game, but they did. So I told you last week, look at the nervous patting of the microphone. If you're listening on a podcast, this right here, this is the left hand pointing at the right hand. This is the kind of nervous energy that builds when Texas A&M loses the first game of the year, because you know what's coming. And I said last week, you want to see it get ugly, watch Texas A&M lose this game, and you'll see ugly. Well, Texas A&M lost the game, and it's ugly. It's ugly. And they got half 100 hung on them, and their defense looked woeful, and they couldn't tackle, and the secondary got roasted, and DJ Durkin is taking a ton of heat, and people are writing thank you notes to Mike Elko because we never realized how much we appreciated you until now, or should have appreciated you. There is no way that defense should look that bad. No way. Miami's got a lot to do with that. But man, let's check out how many other times Miami does that to other teams this year. I would guess not too often to that degree. I think this is going to be a standout performance. It could be a high watermark offensively for them. Who knows? And it comes against you, Texas A&M, and all that 5-star talent all over the place. The padlock stat here, Miami had 241 yards after the catch yesterday. Just horrific tackling. The only thing that stopped Miami half the time was the back of the end zone. They could have just run into the ocean. I was watching this game on a monitor that was muted, so I couldn't hear what Joe Tess and the crew were actually saying. Hopefully they were nice enough, but man, that was tough to watch. It's like, again? Again? The ACC is trending up pretty hard right now. The ACC, I have to do a radio hit with Danny Cannell every Monday morning. And what I thought would be jovial fun times for me, and it's pin another tail on the Cannell every Monday morning, has really turned sour. I don't like this. I don't look forward to this, because the thing about it is, it did not matter how many years the ACC was awful. When they finally reemerged, Cannell was going to find the biggest bass drum in the room and pound that thing like there's no tomorrow and put ACC stickers on both sides of it, and shamelessly, he has. And honestly, I just hope Dusty Dvorak does most of the talking in that head tomorrow. But A&M, here's what I was going to talk to you about earlier. They talk about cleaning up. This has become a very overused phrase in college football. Well, we just got to clean up tackling. I had a college coach ask me the other day, you ever think about how stupid that is? And I said, kinda. Continue. He said, who cleans up tackling? Like, think about it. Who's bad at tackling in football in week 2 and then all of a sudden good at it in week 6? This is not the kind of stuff you clean up. It just doesn't happen. If you're a bad tackling team in week 2, you've got I'm not going to say it's always going to be equally as bad every week, but you're going to have a pretty consistent problem. Same thing with procedural penalties. The teams that are getting flagged in week 2 are usually the ones still getting flagged for the same stuff in week 8. Just the way it is. And so it's not a first-year coach. It's not a second-year coach. It's going to be very uncomfortable around there. I get it. I don't know what the outcome is going to be. Like I said with Bama, long season ahead, but I heard our buddy Billy Lucci, I call him William, you can call him Billy Lucci. I was listening to their takeaways, one of the very few shows outside of ours that I will listen to on a Sunday. So I'm always interested what they have to say about the A&M team. And he said, yeah, there is a long season left. Sometimes that is really good. Sometimes that means there's room to improve, but what people don't realize when they say, oh, it's a long season, is they're also saying that means there's a lot of time for it to get worse. It's not just automatic that there's nowhere to go but up. You could keep losing games. You could lose to Auburn. You could lose to Arkansas, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU. These are all losable games that Texas A&M plays. So what's going to happen? Well, I don't know. That's why we play the games. But remember, all spring and summer, we talked about how things would be fine until it got wobbly a little bit, until they lost a game. Now, what we thought that they'd lose games just because of the offense not clicking. It was not necessarily foreseen that A&M was going to have touchdowns rained all over them by Miami, but that's where we are. A lot of different ways to lose a game, and they're finding more and more ways, it seems like, at Texas A&M. But congrats to Miami. That sets up, that it changes kind of the ACC helmet grid schedule, because all of a sudden games you weren't looking at, now you're looking at, and it could be a really fun time ahead.